profound and enduring engagement with the written word. This engagement has traditionally manifested through a concentric architecture of commentary, where a primary text, which is called matan, is encircled by an expanding universe of explanation, which is in Islamic literature we call shara, and marginal glosses, which is called hashiya in Islamic literature. These marginalias were never merely peripheral. They constituted the dynamic frontier of scholarly innovation, serving as spaces for critical debates. Philological precision and preservation of variant traditions in contemporary era. The study of Islamic texts has undergone a digital turn today, marked by the rise of corpus linguistics and computational analysis. Projects such as Open Islamicate text initiatives, the Quranic Arabic Corpus, and Kitab project, which is knowledge, information, technology, and Arabic book, employ sophisticated algorithmic tools to annotate, tag, and visualize text. What we conclude from this is that the modern corpus linguistics is not a rupture from the traditional Islamic scholarship method, but rather it's a technological remediation by analyzing the structure, functional, and epistemological parallels between the manuscripts, hashiya, and the digital standoff annotation. We get to know the shared intellectual lineage. Both traditions seek to unlock the latent dimensions of the text, whether through the diagonal scroll of Mughal scribe or XML tags of digital humanist. Today, the transition from the ink-stained margins to the metadata-rich repository is reshaping our understanding of authority, authorship, and transmission of knowledge in Islamic tradition. Minhajul Quran International and Minhaj University, Lahore, have been a part of that 1400 years old legacy of traditional interpretation of Islamic literature. And interestingly, today, we are glad to announce and acknowledge that Minhaj University is also the part of this great revolution through its Corpus Research Center established at Minhaj University, Lahore, where more than 32 projects of such nature are under development. Today, to understand the continuity between traditional digital method, one must first appreciate the physical and intellectual architecture of Islamic manuscripts and the literature. The pre-modern book was rarely conceived as solitary, static monologue. Instead, it was an interface for dialogue designed to accommodate multiple voices within a single visual field. At the heart of this system lay the matan, the main text, a foundational work often written in concise, dense prose or rhymed verse to facilitate memorization. The matan served as a stable core to immutable axis around which the scholarly conversation revolved. However, Its very brevity often rendered it opaque to the uninitiated, necessitating the intervention of commentators. The Shara, which is commentary, typically appeared either interlinearly or as a framing text, unpacking the compressed meaning of matan. Yet, as the intellectual tradition matured, particularly in the post-classical period, the Shara itself became the subject of scrutiny. This gave rise to the concept of Hashiya in Islamic literature. The marginalia, or marginal gloss, or super commentary, we may call, linguistically derived from the Persian and Arabic root referring to border or edge of the book. The Hashiya occupied the physical margins of the pages in the book. Visually, the Hashiya created a unique aesthetic and ergonomic experience in many manuscripts, particularly those produced in imperial atelier of Ottoman, Safavid, and Mughal empires. The layout was a feat of information design. The central text block was often framed by ruled lines, which in Arabic we call jadwal, separating the authoritative core from the interpretive periphery. The glosses were frequently written diagonally or in geometric patterns like zigzag or pedants that distinguished them from the main text while maximizing the use of limited marginal space. This visual distinctiveness signaled to the reader that they were entering a different mode of engagement, one that was critical, supplementary, and discursive rather than merely respective. The Hashiya was not a monolithic genre. It encompassed a spectrum of annotative practice ranging from talika, a rough, often ad hoc note taken during a lecture, to the minhiyat, signed authoritative glosses tracing back to the author or master of that subject. In some cases, the Hashiya grew so extensive that it overwhelmed the primary text, leading to phenomenon of superglosses. Hashiya alal Hashiya, we call that in Arabic, where the margins themselves acquired margins. This structure turned the manuscript page into a multi-layered hypertext, allowing a student to traverse centuries of debate in a single glance. A reader engaging with the text on logic or jurisprudential discussions would simultaneously encounter the original propositions, its classical exposition, and specific objections of later scholars, all specially to co-present. In the digital humanities, today text undergoes a fundamental ontological shift. It ceases to be a physical object and become a string of data. However, a plain text file, a sequence of ASCII or Unicode characters, is structurally impoverished compared to the rich, layered reality of manuscript page. To restore this depth, computational linguistic employ annotation. Early digital methods often used inline annotation, where tags were embedded directly into the text stream. This digital margin offers a profound advantage, infinite scalability, just as manuscript might accumulate notes from different owners over centuries. A digital text is a corpus like OpenITI can support unlimited layers of annotation, morphological, cynatic, semantic, prosopographical without cluttering the view. A common misconception regarding digital humanities is that the work is entirely automated, that algorithms have replaced scholars. In reality, the construction of a high quality corpus is an intensely human endeavor, mirroring the labor of traditional muhakkik, verifier, or hashiya kash, margin maker. In the hashiya tradition, the value of gloss depended entirely on the authority of its author. A note signed with minhu, the Arabic word or term, from him, the author, that's what it means, carried a weight that an anonymous scribble did not. These annotations were often the result of rigorous collections where a scholar would compare multiple copies of manuscripts to establish the current reading. Similarly, the modern corpus projects such as Quranic Arabic corpus or Kitab corpus, these projects employ a methodology which employ a supervised collaborative annotation process, while algorithms provide a preliminary morphological tag, a digital talika or rough note. These must be verified by human linguistics. The process is described as semi-automated, acknowledging that the nuance of classical Arabic often escapes purely statistical models. Just as Hashiya served multiple functions, linguistics, correction, theological debate, cross-referencing, digital annotation is efficient, has made it efficient into a distinct type, each serving a specific analytical purpose. In traditional pedagogy, understanding the morphology, which is sarf in Arabic, of word was the first step in unlocking its meaning. A marginal note might explain that a specific verb form implies intensity of reciprocity. In the digital realm, this is formalized through part of speech tagging and lemmatization, which provides a detailed morphological breakdown for every one of 77,430 words of Quran. This includes tagging the root, the pattern, template, and inflectional features. This data allows for quantitative analysis that was previously impossible, such as calculating the exact frequency of specific verbs across the entire corpus to trace thematic patterns. This is what today's technology, the corpus research, has made and contributed even towards Islamic literature and Arabic. Through this example, we actually understand that how much this technology and innovation and inventions are important today, and how much it is important that today Islamic scholar or a scholar of Arabic or any other language, they should be aware of these corpus tools to understand the language importance and details so that they can derive better meanings today through these technologies than those who were in olden days doing manually. Digital corpora employ named entity recognitions as well to automate this whole process. It can also identify and tag the names of transmitters in isnad and chain in the literature of hadith as well, and geographical location through travel logs of all those scholars who have been collecting those hadiths from different regions of the world. This can effectively create a semantic index of corpus, allowing researchers to map the social and geographical network embedded in the text. This is how technology can transform even things which are related to our religion and regular life as well. The science of Arabic grammar, which is called Nahv, is predicted on the theory of Amil, which is governing agent. In this framework, every change in the word's case ending Arab, where Rafa or Nasb or Jar is caused by a specific agent, either explicit or implicit, that governs it. Marginalia in grammatical text were often obsessed with tracing these invisible lines of force. A scholar would write a hashia above a word to indicate this is the agent of that, or this is the object of omitted verb. This was done manually in old days. These notes were essentially verbal diagrams of the sentences structure. They served to disambiguate the text, ensuring that the reader did not mistake a subject for an object. A mistake that is a legal or in a legal or a theological context considered disastrous. But this corpus tool, such as the Quranic Arabic corpus, has translated this traditional theory into a language of modern computational linguistics through the creation of syntactic dependency tree bank. The methodology represents a hybrid approach. It does not force Arabic into a Eurocentric grammatical model, but rather adapts a computational tool to fit the indigenous tradition. For example, in traditional Arab, which we use in Quran for the words, a passive verb governs a deputy subject. A marginal gloss would explicitly label the noun following the passive verb as naib file to ensure the reader understanding the agency is suppressed. In QAC, dependency graph, this is visualized by a specific relation tag linking the passive verb to a noun. A user can query the corpus for all instances of this specific subgraph structure, instantly retrieving every example of passive construction in Quran. This transforms the hashia from a static note on a single page into a dynamic query that spans the entire text. To understand it more in a simple manner, if I compare the olden days traditional hashia, which was given on the books, on the borders, and current revolution of corpus research, what the corpus has given to that traditional hashia, or what corpus research has given to those traditional Islamic literature notes. So I give you a little comparison here, and if that could be displayed on the screen. In traditional hashia, it depended on scholars' memory and manual collection. The traditional hashia was limited to the books physically available to the scholar. The traditional Islamic literature's hashia was explicit only explicit citation or recognized allusions. This specific verse or ruling, they would depend on specific verse or ruling, or traditional Hashia would depend on textual citation. Whereas the digital text reuse, today it depends on algorithmic scanning of billions of words at a time. And it depends on the entire digitized corpus today. And both explicit citation and implicit silent reuse of such resources is now possible through corpus research, and which was not possible earlier in a traditional model. The milestone of 300 word chunk is become possible today through corpus research and AI tools, and which was not possible in olden days. And then the code diagram, scroll, alignment, scatter, plots, all these have become possible today by these modern tools of corpus, which were not possible earlier. Dear audience, the output of this analysis offers a radical new perspective of Islamic intellectual history. By visualizing text reuse, researchers can see the DNA of the book today, which was not possible earlier. This technology reveals that the Islamic tradition is far more interconnected than previously thought. Authors frequently recycled text without explicit citation, viewing knowledge as a communal asset rather than private property. The Hashia placed a crucial role in preservation of knowledge in Islamic literature by documenting variant readings or qiraat, and scribal errors and margins acted as a correction mechanism that prevented the text from degrading over time. However, the manuscript itself was fragile, vulnerable to warmth, fire, and time. But digital corpus projects, by digitizing texts and converting them into a machine actionable formats, they ensure that the intellectual heritage of even Islam is not only preserved as an image like microfilms, but as structured data that can be migrated, searched, and analyzed by future generations. This is a form of active preservation of such literature, keeping the text alive by making it usable in new technological contexts. This has led to the emergence of new educational paradigms in Muslim world as well, such as in Turkey, for instance, the Applied Digital Islamicate Studies program is training theology students to use computational tools alongside traditional texts. Students are learning to use GIS to map the spread of hadith narrators, and Python to analyze the vocabulary of fiqh books. This represents a fusion of madrasa and computer lab today, creating a new type of scholar which we all need in 21st century, a scholars who have a committed background in Islamic literature, and they are well aware and learned in computational and digitational skills, so that they can integrate both techniques and specializations to enhance Islamic scholarship. This represents creating a new type of scholars who is fluent in both Arab and algorithm. Azan. sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Dear audience, as we look to the future, the integration of artificial intelligence, AI, and large language models, LLMs, promises to future further blur the line between human scholar and digital tool. New projects are exploring the use of AI to generate synthetic glosses or to automatically identify the semantic relationships that scholars have spent centuries mapping. Yet, the goal remains the same, whether using a reed pen to write a gloss in margin of Bukhari's manuscript, or using a Python script to run PASM on a server in London. The objective is to serve the text, to clarify its obscurities, to map its connections, and to ensure its transmission to the next generation. The transition from manuscript Hashia to the digital corpus is not a replacement, but a remediation. The digital margin encompasses the physical margins functions, explaining, critique, citation, and preservation, and expands them through the power of computation. The Hashia scholars sat at the edge of the page, weaving the text into the fabric of tradition. The digital humanists sit at the terminal, weaving the text into the semantic web of data. Sustained focus of that text that reuses to let it remain static or silent. By bridging these traditions, we do not merely preserve the past, we reactivate it. The algorithm of PASM and dependency tree of QAC reveals that the Islamic textual tradition has always been a corpus in modern sense, a passive, interconnected, and self-referential system. The digital tools simply provide us with the lens to see what the Hashia writers knew all along, that the margin is not the end of the text, but the beginning of its infinite unfoldings. Dear audience, that's why I would like to congratulate all the participants and presenters of this conference much more than others, because they presented the new face of learning through their papers and research. They are connecting the tradition with future through corpus research and through applying all these modern tools and techniques. That's why we have also decided, and I'm going to announce through this platform, that at Minhaj University, Lahore, we are going to introduce the corpus research courses as well as AI courses related to languages in all the degree programs related to language under the Faculty of Languages at Minhaj University, Lahore. Because this is the future. We won't keep it traditional anymore. It will be traditional, but it will have all those modern tools which can equip the graduate of Minhaj University. Whenever and wherever they go with the language expertise, they will be able to apply AI as well as corpus tools and techniques on those languages related research and represent Pakistan in a way which it should be. In the end, I would like to congratulate the CRS department and all the organizers of this beautiful and very relevant conference to today's needs. And I pray to Allah Almighty that whatever has been presented here and all those efforts which has been made for this conference, they may be accepted in the bargah of Allah Almighty, and Allah Almighty bless us with the strength and courage to contribute more towards such sciences which could bring back all those golden days which were at some point of time belonged to the Muslim Ummah and the world.